We're live for another Instagram Live. Max and Elijah coming back to you to talk today about beyond profits, why we do what we do. So clearly we're a real estate investment company. We are in business in order to buy properties and sell them for profit.
I feel like I need to scoot over and then we can be sitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, there's the 6 inch apart rule. Just trying to get the CDC and maybe watching. So clearly we're in the business of making money, but it's not all about money. There's other elements as to why we get up every day and why we work late into the night doing what we do. And we wanted to share those things with you and share why we enjoy the real estate investing space and kind of what gives us fulfillment outside of the money.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you've said this. I'm the one texting you at 6:30 a.m. and then you're the
stop doing that.
It's never gonna stop. And then you're the one texting me at 11 at night. So I'm like the early up, early to sleep. You're the you don't get up that late, but you go to bed later than I do, definitely.
Yeah.
But I would say like between the two of us, we're usually talking from let's say 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I'm sure you got sick of me a long time ago, but different. That's a talk for a different day. Yeah, we live this, right? This is what we do all hours of the day, all hours of the night. We love it. I think, 3 years ago you brought me on and it was like, hey, let's kind of try this out, see how it works. I had an engineering background. I worked in oil and gas, and you've been working in real estate for 12 years, so you've obviously proven that 10, sorry. I won't jump the gun.
What day is it today? Yeah. It's still 21, right? It's 2021? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but like you've proven that this is what you want to do. And I think when you brought me on, I had really no idea what went into this, but here I am 3 years later, still working together and still having a lot of success, but loving every minute of it. Not every second, there's some seconds I don't love, but and I really I wake up fired up. I go to bed fired up, just a little bit more relaxed so I can actually go to sleep. With what we're doing, and I think what we're creating, what we've already created, you can see it here, the 39 investments, over $100 million in investment experience, but I feel like that's just the beginning for us.
Right, and I think there's certain things that are external, so building relationships with other people, whether they're within our office or outside of our office, so that's like external relationship building. And then there are things that are related to properties, by taking a property that looked like one thing and making it beautiful and a much better product, not just for us but for everyone in the community, and also for the tenants and for the investors. And then there's the internal things, right? So overcoming obstacles that we have, growing, scaling up, and things that are more personal accomplishments and give us feelings of success and satisfaction for ourselves. So I think we can talk about, the first thing is clearly relationships with other people. And when we talk about relationships, we're talking about having mutually beneficial relationships, relationships where it's not win-lose, where the mentality is win-win, where we can win, the person that we're working with can win. This goes for, again, people that work in our office, that are on our staff. This is relating to people that invest in our deals. This is relating to the brokers that we work with, the tenants that live in our properties, the lenders, the loan brokers that we deal with, the contractors, the architects, and really everyone that we interface with. And it doesn't matter where someone is on a totem pole in terms of if they're a high net worth investor or they're a parking attendant at a building. So it's really just treating other people with respect and dignity. Do unto others as you would want how you would want people to treat you. And I think that outlook a lot of times is what leads to mutual benefit and ultimately growth.
Mm-hmm. And a big part of that is doing it together, doing it with somebody. Not just you and I at the Goldfinger group and the people in our office, but with all the contractors, all the vendors, all the tenants, all the leasing agents. I think that is what's so awesome, is how many cooks there are in the kitchen, and what goes from first sourcing the deal seeing it on market. You have to have the seller, you have to have the agent, you have the people escrow, title, you're inspecting the property, right? There's so many people just to get the deal closed and have that asset under management. And that's just the beginning. And then now you're working with the contractors, our different representatives, our property management. And, a lot of people see day one when you close it and they see when you sell it, but they don't see everything in between and the hard work and the amount of people and man hours that go into these investments. And that's what I love. I like the dynamic of all the people that we work with and the process of that teamwork to do what we do.
And just add to that, you mentioned the amount of man hours. It was International Women's Day this week, so man hours and woman hours. There's a lot. We actually in our office brought on another woman working here, and it was basically like a bunch of guys, and we now have kind of balanced it out. So it's really good.
We needed it.
It's really good for our office dynamics. But I couldn't agree more with you that the growth comes from relationships, and not, we've talked about this before, that not every vendor that we work with is the right fit, and you kind of learn over time, okay, who's a good fit, who's not a right fit. But when you find the people that are the right fit, it's important not to take advantage and not take for granted those relationships, and let the people know that, hey, we appreciate working with you. And it takes a certain vulnerability to tell people, hey, we really enjoy working with you. We really appreciate the working relationship that we have, because then there's a thought, well, they're going to say, they think that everything, and a bag of chips is that what they say, right? So but just being honest with people, and conversely, sometimes it's like, look, like we're in two different places, and our projects are too small, or it's not the right fit for one reason or another, and being honest with people and letting them know, hey, we'd love to work with you when the time is right. So I think that sense of transparency is very helpful for building and growing with others.
Exactly, and a big part of that too is, you and I say this all the time, there's a lot of people doing real estate. The LA real estate landscape is so competitive. There's so many people with money, and what's most important to us is doing it with the right people, working with the right people, executing our projects. Every aspect that we've discussed so far of what goes into these, like, it's all about the right people. There's so many people that we could be buying deals with, different brokers, different investors, different property managers, right? But for us, it's identifying the right people to work with from the onset and then grow with those people.
Totally. And on that note, growth and teamwork comes from understanding where the other person is trying to be, where they're trying to get to, and identifying, hey, this is someone who's trying to grow, and understanding where their goals are, what their goals are, and where they're trying to get to, and saying, how can we, as the Goldfinger Group, how can we help this person achieve their goals? And along that way, we know what our goals are, right? So we're trying to buy more properties, we're trying to reposition them and bring on more investor funds and trying to get into bigger deals, right? We know those things, right? Like, we wake up and go to sleep knowing that. So it's really important to let that take a back seat when we're meeting with people, and try to really pinpoint and understand, hey, where is this guy trying to get to, right? Is it a broker who's trying to invest in our deals? Is it a contractor who wants to have skin in the game and also invest in the deal? How is this person trying to grow in their business, and is this something that we can participate in? Because we know that in order to have real growth, there needs to be mutual benefit, and the only way to have mutual benefit is to really understand what the other person is trying to achieve, and then reverse engineer from there.
And on that note, of all the people we work with, all the deals we've done, I don't think anything has been so smooth, and I think this is where the growth happens and where the relationships really build, is overcoming the obstacles, right? When you get down to the last day and the lender needs to get their funds in, and all of a sudden you're missing documents, or something's not right, or then you buy the asset, you start construction, you open up a wall, and then there's a mess. We won't get into what those messes are on this one, but every single deal we've done, there's always been something to overcome, and I think that's what's the people that we've overcome those obstacles with, we've created like a bond with, right, and have grown together, established a stronger relationship, and it's made us better, and it's made them better. And then as we continue to grow, because overcoming these obstacles is where the growth happens, we get to that place, right? Like that value, that where we want to be, whether it's, today, tomorrow, 10 years, like we get so much closer to that. And not just for ourselves, but for all the people we're working with.
Yeah, I've been listening to a guy named Mark Manson. He talks a lot about, personal growth, and he talks about people that don't have problems have a really big problem, because if you don't have problems, then you're just basically bored, right? You don't have much going on, and that creates, idle hands create the devil's work. Like if you got a pulse and you're able to move around, like you gotta have something to get up and go to every day, because otherwise your mind is gonna just it's not gonna go in a positive way. There's only so much vacation that people can handle. So what he talks about is the goal is not to have no problems. The goal is to have good problems. So good problems, like an example of good problems for us, right? We have tax season coming up, and we're streamlining our bookkeeping, accounting, and tax preparation for all of our investments, right? So this is a good problem that we have, is that, hey, we have all these properties, they all have LLCs, some of them have multiple LLCs. Then we have operating accounts, we have capital accounts, we have property management bank accounts. So getting all this accounting together for some of these properties is more simple than others. And we are working this problem, right? This obstacle that we're overcoming is called streamlining. We're streamlining in our scale, right? So we're scaling, we're growing, we're doing more properties, and we're figuring out systems. We're implementing systems in order to make it so that next year, when we're preparing our K1s and our tax filings, it's going to take us half as much time as it took this year. And when you have that, and you go from year to year to year, and you start saving time because you don't have the same problems. So there's going to be, trust me, there's going to be plenty of problems to deal with this time next year. They're going to be different problems, and hopefully they won't be the same problems, and hopefully they'll be better problems to have. Some people's problem is, I don't know what to do with all this money, right? So I was talking to someone, they're telling me, I have a big problem is that the inheritance tax rate may go up, and it's like, well, that's a big problem. It's a great problem to have, right? Because that should be our biggest problem, is that we don't know what to do with all the money. So I think it's important to recognize that problems are good most of the time, especially the problems that we deal with. And overcoming those problems through creative solutions and through streamlining processes is it gives us a lot of satisfaction to create a strategy and then implement it so that we can overcome that obstacle and move on to the next problem.
Exactly, and I think what you just touched on is the fact that we're able to be creative to find solutions, even though we have all these problems. I wouldn't even call them problems.
It's so many problems.
But it gives us the opportunity to be creative. And the biggest thing is that we focus on the solution is, okay, this exists, we have to overcome it. Well, how are we going to? What's the solution? Where do we want to go? And in order to do that, we have to be creative. I think we both like that aspect. And we have to be adaptive, right? We don't just get stuck in our ways. We understand that things are dynamic, and we have to change and figure out how to navigate in that space, so that whatever obstacle that we're faced with, we're able to get through it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to perform on these assets. We have a business plan that we're going to execute, and it's all about getting to that point. And this is probably the biggest aspect for me of what I love, what we're doing, is we're helping people create wealth through real estate that don't have the time or energy to do it, right? So we're that vehicle to allow people to own property. If you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you work in tech or entertainment, and you have money to go into property, but you don't know how to source deals, you don't know how to operate them, manage the tenants, manage construction, like that's where we step in. And that's what I love doing, is helping people realize that real estate is this path that so many people have created generational wealth in, and be an avenue for that. So which kind of brings us to this next point is benefit to others, right? And we've been harping on it, right? It's all about the mutual benefit. It's all about bringing value, performing for our investors, performing on these deals, and working with the right people. It's all about benefit to others.
And in terms of benefit to others, this kind of encapsulates everything that we've been talking about. benefiting the end user of the space, the tenant who's going to live in the space, or the person who's going to buy the piece of real estate from us. How is the tenant going to use the space? Understanding the market demand and human behavior and changes that are going on within not just LA, but throughout the world, right? COVID hit, and what happened? People started working from home. So now you can set up work from home desks, nooks within bedrooms, right? Understanding, hey, there's going to be a lot of office space that's going to be empty. How can we take that over and convert it into something that's going to be a better use? So understanding the human behavior, the demand in the marketplace, what people want, both tenants and the person who's going to buy the property from us, right? What type of assets are high demand? That's one way that we can look at, and we can be creative to understand what do people want and then build it out for them.
Exactly. So I think the biggest thing is that, as great as the profits are in real estate, everybody hears about how much money people are making investing in real estate, whether it's in LA or other places. And I mean, look, we can't forget what happens like in 2008, recession and all this other stuff. But I think for us is like, there's so much more to it than just the money. And the big thing is that we're living what we're doing, right? We wake up, we go to sleep talking about it. So, it's not just all about the money. There's so much more to real estate, especially what we do.
And I think it's a choice, right? So some people just look at real estate as, hey, I'm gonna buy deals, I'm gonna buy low, I'm gonna sell high, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes and slit whatever throats I need to. And that's how some people operate. It's a choice to operate that way. We choose to operate differently. Why? Will it make us more money? I always say that there's really, really nice billionaires and billionaires who are really not nice, and there's really, really nice homeless people, and there's homeless people who are really, really not nice. So I don't know if it's going to lead us to get the most money, but it's certainly the way that I personally like to go to sleep at night, is knowing that I'm doing what I can to treat people fairly and amicably, and hopefully in a way that's going to help us grow together. And if that means that net worth goes down 3% or so, then so be it. But that is what's most important, is to treat people right, and do right by others.
Mm-hmm.
That's the message. We have a violin playing in the background or something, but look, we're not perfect. I wear this bracelet, not to say evil things about other people, but I catch myself sometimes doing it. We're not perfect angels, but it's important to have a value system in place so we can look and we can ask each other, hey, what do you think about this decision? Because there's constantly things that come up where we can make a decision to do X, Y, or Z, and it's important for us to have an aligned value system to look at and say, hey, if these are our values, then what are we doing?
Exactly. That's it for me.
All right. With that being said, enough talking. Let's get some deals.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for watching. If you have a deal you want us to look at, we'd be delighted to take a look and work with you. Feel free to reach out at the Goldfinger Group or at Elijah Karapkin on Instagram. That's pretty much it.
That's all we got.
See you guys next time.